Hearing the term shooting gallery might elicit memories of carnivals and state fairs, firing airsoft guns and moving targets, or it might make you think of a live firing range for practicing your aim. For me, atop those examples, I also think of games like Cabal, NAM 1975, or even something like Wild Guns, which was re-released in 2016 with extra characters, simultaneous 4-player co-op, and a downgraded soundtrack. Well, there's also another game that falls squarely in this subgenre, and I'm surprised it hasn't gotten that much coverage considering it was actually released a few months before Wild Guns. That title would be Bot Vice, the game I showcased at the end of the Judge video. Well, I've taken a bit more time to play it, and honestly, I wish I had heard of it sooner. Like many old school style shooters, the story presented is a simple one. Erin Saver is an ex-cop in Bot City, spending her time playing video games after losing an arm during a sting operation, which also cost her partner his life. Good thing she has a bionic replacement, since the same game that crippled her is now helping some lunatic start a rebellion that he intends to kick off at dawn with the destruction of the Tomonaka Plaza building. The problem with this story is that it's all quite nonsensical, especially once you finish the game, because you don't really gain any understanding of the true purpose of the rebellion or any insight into Bot City in general, and that's fine. I mean, this is just a simple shooter, but the story is trying to hint that there's more complexity apparent while also not following through on that, and that's not good storytelling. I was really hoping there would be a sequel already available or something to expand on everything, and it looks like that may happen in the future, so if you're interested in how it eventually pans out after the end, you're gonna have to wait. What we have now, though, is a revenge story played out in 25 major firefights, with you as Erin barricaded at the bottom and all manner of bloodthirsty robots assaulting you from the top of the playing field. Erin can strafe left and right, shooting forward by default, but she can also aim automatically toward the closest enemy, dodge roll to control space, and take cover in place to avoid getting perforated. Unfortunately, cover doesn't last long in the onslaught, so staying on the move and destroying all that oppose you quickly is the best choice of action. That's doubly true since you only get 35 minutes to prevent the rebellion, and the game keeps track of how fast you keep the peace in each area. The bad guys are sufficiently equipped to kill you without much effort, which is intelligent speak for this game be hard, and if you give them an inch, they'll take your life. Each one of these guys has their own pattern of attack, and they're all fast and strong, meaning your attacks have to be on the same level. And that's where the special weapons in your arsenal come into play. Tiny robots drop ammo for weapons like machine guns and grenade launchers, which can devastate everyone, including bosses. Knowing when to hold back and when to just go ham is key, because the different combinations of enemies and their tendency to move and stay behind environmental objects or just tank your shots make strategizing an important aspect when playing each stage. One more tool in your kit is a beam saber that not only does massive damage to enemies dumb enough to get close, but also absorbs every attack with the right timing, something that led me to taking chances I probably shouldn't have been taking. Every 5th level is a boss fight that tests the limits of your abilities and your patience at times, especially Rocket Lizard, who requires practically constant movement due to almost every one of his attacks being able to hit you from behind cover. But just like everything else, with enough repetition and an understanding of their move list, they explode just as much as the rank and file. If the game somehow gets too easy for you, there's a difficulty selector that can be changed at any time, and finishing the game unlocks a series of extra levels that are significantly more difficult than the original 25. So, if you can get used to the controls and the difficulty surrounding them, there's definitely more fun to be had. Don't get me wrong, moving Erin about is a mostly flawless endeavor, but the auto-aim mechanic has problems. The game has a tendency to make weird choices regarding which enemy is closest to you and will switch whenever you roll, oftentimes making something as simple as maintaining fire on a bad guy a freaking pain. And you know what could have fixed that? Being able to cycle through enemy targets. At first I thought twin stick controls and manual aiming could have fixed this, but no, this kind of control scheme would actually make the game, as hectic and cluttered as it is, significantly more difficult. Also, the developer seems to hate that type of gameplay, so yeah. Actually, I'd love an explanation on that, because what is this opinion even? This game's presentation falls squarely in the 16-bit range, with pixelated graphics, a very limited color palette, and a really strong soundtrack by Dominic Ninmark that sounds a lot like what you get from the Sony SBC 700. The cutscenes are fully voiced, and to match the kind of bad story, the voices themselves are pretty trash.
Agent Saber, just in time!
I don't know if that was supposed to be on purpose, because it really seems like it was, but if that's the case, just make them all shit. Don't even hire that good voice actress, and just do everything in-house, because it just seems inconsistent. This art right here is also objectively bad. Enough said there. Honestly though, if you like challenging old school shooting games, this is still a great game to add to your Steam library, as long as you're fine with the crushing difficulty brought about by a combination of brutal enemy spawns and damage output, and a questionable targeting system design. Besides, it's pretty inexpensive now compared to Wild Guns Reloaded, and the action presented in this game is sphincter clenching by comparison, until you become a beast at it. There's fun behind the frustration, but it's not for everyone. On a similar note, here's another frustrating game that isn't for everyone, or perhaps anyone.